Good afternoon, friends. It is my honor to moderate this valuable session on a very, very relevant topic, harnessing the potential of edge computing. I don't think any other technology creates as much interest or has as much application in the industry in the near foreseeable future as much as edge computing does. And possibly it is the one technology about which we don't know enough as well, or we don't talk about it enough. So thank you, Strateging, for picking up this topic and making it contextual and relevant to the audience here. I have a very esteemed panel with me. I think we will straight away get into the discussion. While the market size for edge computing, I was trying to get some data points on what is the market size for edge computing looking like. And we were discussing, it's very difficult to get those numbers because it's such a mix of hardware and software and IoT pieces mixed together. It's really ambiguous, the numbers. On which site you look at, you have a different number. All we can arrive at a conclusion is, I believe it was somewhere around 43 billion USD in 2023, expected to be around 81 billion by 2027. And I assume it is anybody's guess how these numbers are going to go and how the adoption is going to pan out. So let's start with the understanding of the context and the usage in your organizations. What is the state? Would you like to talk about what are the use cases that you're seeing in your organizations? So Parna, could you start off, please?
Hello. So good evening, all of you, and thanks to Strateging for inviting us for this. I think that it's one of the difficult topics, because it's an evolving market, and edge computing, I believe, like cloud 10 years back was kind of a buzzword. Today, like cloud is one of the de facto standards for, hosting applications and infrastructure. Tomorrow, edge computing also will become something like that. Although the figures looks very astonishing, $135 billion or something. But if you look at Indian market, and especially automotive and manufacturing market, it is slowly picking up. So I will start with a different note, it's kind of to some extent, a packaging of the old concept of traditional in-house hardware facilities or, capabilities in a new form or shape with new capabilities. So like you have the AI and other contents, available for edge computing, but otherwise it's basically in-room computing or in-house computing or on-premise computing, whatever we said a few years back, it's actually coming in a different shape to all of us again. So the use cases, if you look at, especially for the factories of tomorrow or the smart factories, one important factor is real-time on mobile analytics, especially for the mid-management who takes the tactical decisions. Like example, certain raw materials are not available right now. We need to ship the the finished goods or something like that. Or even in case of some supplier delivery issues or something, how to change the production schedule, the line efficiency is not coming up, how to do the change in the layouts or something like that. So this kind of real-time decision making is actually possible, and we are in a pilot phase of taking up certain areas of that. This is one of the use cases I have seen. And second is, lot of organizations are looking at large-scale shop floor digitization. When I say shop floor digitization, it's not a new thing, but it's happening for many, many years. But now it's happening more, especially after the COVID. Most of the organizations are looking at wide-scale shop floor digitization, paperless factories, smart factories, and even IoT and other stuff which are already there in the factories, especially for OEE, for maintenance, for safety, for quality and other stuff. So this area is getting disrupted through this edge computing device and as well as application, as he rightly mentioned. So one is availability of mobile, and the 5G network is getting stronger. Second is the private 5G is also coming up from all the service providers. And third is the analytics and application getting democratized for the users and real-time analytics happening on the mobile. It's not a back-end thing which is happening, processing data and taking a lot of time. It's taking out the data and doing real-time analytics and providing the insights to the workflow managers. I think this is the very good use case currently happening, and investments are not that great. Payback and ROI or even the KPIs can be achieved in a very, very fast manner. So I think pilots are going on in many, many organizations, especially automotive, non-automotive, some process or industries. Certain pilots are going on. I think the success rates will be coming up in days to come.
Thank you for that, Parna. I think some of the interesting use cases are around vision AI, which have been very old use cases. So maybe if one of you, maybe Nitin, if you could amplify a bit more on some use cases.
Thanks Annie, and thanks Strategic Inc. for calling me here. It's a privilege to be here in front of all of you. I represent manufacturing sector. My past experience in the present organization, we have been doing a lot on edge side at the shop floor level, like Parna did briefly mention. For us, the edge, basically edge what it means. It basically means processing the data close to the source. And for us, this source is the machines which are generating a lot of data. There are inherent challenges also in terms of connectivity and other aspects because of which we use edge. And then there are operational efficiencies as well as cost for which we use. Some of the predominant use cases, we have automated one of our entire manufacturing unit at Kehrani, and this is for the faucet manufacturing. So people were generating data, and the machine's data was logged in a logbook. Now through sensors, this data is getting into the system, and the visualization of, like what Parna also mentioned, line efficiency, equipment efficiency, all of that is done locally at the site. All of it uses edge computing, because that data cannot be sent to cloud and processed. It is done locally at the system. Latencies and many other aspects are there because of which it is done. You also, Annie, just mentioned about the vision. So we are also doing pilots around computer visions for defect analysis using edge. Our models are trained so that the SKU name is identified using pre-trained models, and as soon as the product comes on a line, there is a computer vision which detects this program is trained on edge, and if there are quality defects which are found on product, then immediately the upward system is updated with these logs. Then a lot of analytics is done at the back end. Suppose there are exceptions, machine temperature has gone up. Such kind of exceptions are logged to cloud, and some analytics models are built for predictive maintenance. But once they are built, then the firmware of the gateways are updated, and the local system tells about the predictive maintenance alarms. So this is also done on edge side. This was on the shop floor side, and we are also doing a lot on the air, water, electricity consumption, and those are all generated. The data is all generated and locally analyzed using edge. In terms of product, we are also manufacturing kitchen products. So one of the product that we manufacture is chimney. We kind of take pride in sharing that we created the world's first IoT chimney. Now, for the customer experience, while you are using chimney, your hands could be dirty, or it would be unhygienic to touch chimney while you are cooking. So by wave of hand, the chimney can be switched on or switched off. This intelligence is also built using edge. And while not in my present stint, but in past I have done on the connected vehicle, electric vehicle. So the telematics which fits in the vehicle was also having intelligence of edge. So these are few cases. Thanks.
In fact, one of the use cases which you mentioned about a passenger or a rider falling and an immediate alarm being transmitted, assessing, I thought that was a very interesting use case and not a very common use case.
Correct. So if you want, I can spend 30 seconds on that. Thanks. So if let's say you are riding a vehicle and all of a sudden let's say an accident, it should not happen to anyone, but imagine the accident happens, then there is an algorithm which detects the accident and immediately your near and dear ones gets an alert. If this computing is done on cloud, vehicle sending the message and cloud computing it, and just imagine you not being in a place or a vicinity where internet connectivity is there, then such alerts may not go. And second could be a theft alert. So if a person has stolen the vehicle and you want to switch it off remotely or immobilize it from a remote location, then again the intelligence has to be built on the edge close to the system, which can be operated from a far off location. So this all also requires a lot of edge intelligence, and yeah, in my past since I have done this. Thank you.
Atul, from a process, from a appliance and auto industry, we moved to a process industry. What would you say? Hello? Can you hear me?
But I could hear you. I'm not sure whether others have been able to hear you. I think what your point was, we've spoken about appliances, so let's talk about process industry. That's what, Annie?
That's right, that's
Yeah,
right.
Good. So thank you for having me, and thanks strategic team to have us all together. So I think in the next couple of minutes, I'll highlight what we have done in India Glycols. I work for India Glycols. Though the name suggests that no, we make chemicals or some pharma products, but we've got 5-6 divisions. And I'll talk about one division which may be of interest to many of you. It's the liquor division which we have. And in our liquor division, no, what we do is there are these bottles which have to be packed. So you bottle them, seal them, label them, and then they move through the value stream on a conveyor belt, assume. And the speed is such that and we've got such 25 plus odd lines, 25 plus lines which are there making IMFL and CL. And in each line, the speed would vary between roughly around 220 cases to 500 cases per hour when I say. So one case may have 40 odd bottles or 24 odd bottles depending on the size of the SKU. So what we did is, and this was a classic case wherein we created an aggregation that based on the QR code which is placed on the bottle cap, there's a QR code. We do an aggregation of those, say, 45 QR codes which are kept in that physical case. And then the system which is there, the scanning machine which is there, it scans those 45 odd bottles which are placed in the case, and then basically puts the barcode on the case. The case barcode gets aggregated and it places it there. So that through the entire journey, while it goes to the distribution to the retailers, the entire journey you can track that particular bottle also, and also that case, what time of the day, which line it got produced, packed, all of that happens. And now while we are doing so, there is another because liquor is an excise subject, state excise subject. So now there is a requirement that we do some part of this compute here, and some part will be done in a portal which they are provisioning, the excise team is provisioning through a third party. So what is happening today is now the data has to go out from the aggregated data, this 45 cases data has to go to the cloud, and from there we get the barcode from back for us to print. Now you can well imagine that now we are talking about in 5 seconds we are producing one case. So the data going outside, coming, and then you do to create that barcode. So we are doing it now. When we have tested it, we have done it now. But these are classic cases, and you could always do it manually. Some old such production units, they are doing it manually on the shop floor. But we have chosen to do it through digital means. That's one. And secondly, on our electricity consumption for one of our plants in Kashipur, we have set up a complete IoT case wherein all the high energy generating and consuming units, be it DG sets, turbines, or motors, HT motors, LT motors of higher capacities, all of that data of electricity consumption, and not just electricity in terms of wattage, but also in terms of the current imbalance, voltage imbalance, whatever data is there, which is relevant to monitor not just the performance, but also from a maintenance standpoint, that if there could be certain aspects which can predict that if there is such an imbalance, then combination of such data points may result into a malfunction. So we get a predictive kind of an assessment which we can act on. So likewise, like Parna, you mentioned around the whole IoT thing. So we created a smart factory setup wherein data points from various control rooms which are there in the plant, we aggregated. And control systems from Yokogawa, Emerson, Rockwell, Allen Bradley, it used to be earlier, Honeywell, Siemens, all of them, no disparate. It's almost like a zoo, I would say. And wherein whilst we were setting it up, it was interoperability, it was a great challenge. And we could see it, we hear it in forums, but we could actually face it, and we, using Kepware, which is now PTC, we used the OPC interconnect to basically interface all of these disparate systems and got data out of. And while we were taking data out of these systems, we had to be very careful that what do we do on the edge and what do we take on the cloud, because this data also had batch cycle data, batch recipe data. So we had to be very careful that what goes out, and we should be clearly aware, and what should be available for decision support within the premise. So that's the whole premise, Annie, if I've been able to answer it.
So we have heard from a variety of industries. In fact, I was hoping there would be a temperature sensitive or a cold chain focused company also. Like I used to work with Mother Dairy, and one of our challenges used to be managing temperature. And logically, edge is a use case for any temperature aberration detection kind of use cases where it doesn't make sense to throw out every temperature data back to the cloud or to a central ecosystem, but only the aberrations need to be acted upon kind of thing. So those are some of the standard use cases which is under widespread adoption. Carl, from a product vendor perspective, any insights that you would like to share?
Yeah, so I think our organization uses AI a little different for most of the manufacturing companies, because we focus on software and seeing how software developers can essentially get the best out of their products. Atlassian has something called AI Assist, which essentially helps. Let me talk about two use cases, one internal and then external. So internally, we use AI, something called, since we're an Australian company, it's called Mate, or AI Mate. Good Day Mate, that's what we're popularly known for. And this essentially works across Jira software for natural language and for JQL and SQL queries. We've also got the same tool which looks at summaries, either across Confluence, which is a tool that's very popularly used by everyone. It looks at the entire page and gives you a summary of what's on that in probably 5 or 6 sentences. And for someone who's new, who's joined an organization, there are a lot of acronyms that are there internal to an organization when you're 10 plus, 20 years old. Acronyms which no one else uses, like we use something called Socrates for our data lake. So when new people join us, the AI Mate helps them understand how we use acronyms. For the salespeople, it looks at financial data and gives you a summary of how the simplest way of looking at how to approach a customer. The same thing we also do for our external customers. There it's called Atlassian Assistant. So when the software developers need help with their queries, it comes and helps them with that. When it comes to looking at tickets and resolving tickets that don't really need human interference, that's something that the Assist can do for a lot of us. And summaries is something that is internal as well as external. So that has been a biggest challenge for a lot of our customers, where they've seen Confluence pages with loads and loads of data where nobody's going to have the time to read all of it. So Assist comes in and just summarizes everything in 5 to 10 sentences, and you can ask it further questions to streamline your questions.
Thank you for that, Carl. Coming to what is it in it? I think everything finally boils down to where are you seeing the benefits of the technology being deployed? Is it purely a latency or a speed benefit that you're seeing? Are there economies, cost economies available? How do you see 5G and edge evolve? Do you see that one makes the other redundant, or do you see them coexisting? So a bit of crystal gazing. And to me, how much of edge computing is actually how much of automation is actually dependent on edge. So some of these aspects, if you could bring them in, Nitin, I think over to you.
Thanks, Annie. See, there is not one dimension which edge solves. There are multiple dimensions. Some of you also mentioned. Let's go one by one. In a manufacturing setup use case, it's the operational efficiency that gets resolved. So in our case, when we were doing the computations of TCOs, we found that edge was saving 60% approximately the cost for us, because every data was not supposed to be sent to cloud and processed and then visualizations happen. We did that locally through the IoT gives and the CAPFairs and OPC UA servers, everything. Then second is the experience. Like I took an example of chimney. Now, beyond experience, nothing great happens here. But experience comes because of the edge. Now you cannot send every information of gesture control to cloud and from there you do the processing back. So experience is the second element that it brings in. And at times it's absolute utility which is done only through edge. No other tool can support you. For example, like a theft alert. Now, when you hear that your vehicle is stolen, what the immediate action a person will take is to immobilize the vehicle. The cloud can process and give you the message about the theft alert, and you give an action to immobilize the vehicle. Now, immobilization happens through edge. So it's an absolute utility. And in this Chandrayaan, we heard that there is plan B, plan C for the course correction of the trajectory, which is processed. So firmwares were built and everything was processed at the edge side, and the action would be taken at the edge side. So edge solves multiple dimensions, that is one. Now, what you mentioned about 5G and edge, I believe both the technologies are complementing each other. There is no standout that edge will take away or 5G will take away, because while the data generation at speed happens from technologies like 5G, processing of that would require the edge to be there. And again, I'll go back to this connected vehicle example. Suppose you have a two-wheeler and it's giving packets of message every 2 or 3 seconds. This may happen because of 5G, that you get all these speed, connectivity and other things. And then if there is a bi-directional action to be taken, like immobilization of vehicle or an alert being sent from the vehicle to the system about tow happening to the vehicle or accident alerts, this would require edge to be intelligent. And then there are things like firmware over the air, wherein you make the edge more and more intelligent, either from the security perspective or from the behavioral perspective. So this is just my 2 cents.
Atul, anything to add?
I think one covered most of the points, Nitin, but I think there's another aspect around data governance also, because one needs to also figure out what data can reside within or should reside within the enterprise premises. So I call it rusty but trusty, the whole system servers which you set up in your backhaul. So that's one part, because that will, I'm not in the foreseeable future I see they'll go off. But what I also want to refer, you were talking about certain numbers. So I was going through this Gartner report which mentions that by end of 25, 26, perhaps start of 26, we might as well see a situation wherein almost 75% of the data or the compute also related to the data would neither be residing on these data centers, rusty but trusty data centers, on-prem, or the cloud which we've been talking about, which is a very different paradigm. It challenges all our whatever current thoughts are, because we believe either we are on-prem or we are on the cloud, private or otherwise, public. But this, it says that no, and edge is the focus, wherein lot of these computes and lot of these processing storage of data would start happening on these so-called IoT or such devices. No, so that's that's a very different, sorry, that's a very different theme, but I believe so because more and more we are seeing smarter devices. We earlier had dumb sensors which were just transmitting data, but now you got smart sensors which can also do some part of the compute and maybe also do an M2M, machine to machine interface as we progress.
Yeah, Rohit, you've been very quiet till now. So the perspective, I think your perspective would be very valuable. A law from a law firms or the legal angle. What are the impacts, security and privacy concerns? How do we ensure security of data at the edge? So would you be able to bring in those perspectives to this discussion?
Sure, thank you. So before getting on the security aspect, I actually wanted to add to the previous conversation on the use cases. See, a lot of us are talking about Chat GPT, OpenAI, and some of those stuff. In a law firm, what we did was we got the modern train through OpenAI, but we used our data, and we are kind of fine-tuning that. A lot of you might be doing something like that, a local enterprise-wide Chat GPT kind of a solution, right? This, in a way, is an edge because the processing and most of the data is residing inside, and the training is happening from OpenAI enterprise APIs and all. And perhaps for some of the startup people who are there, when I was making this solution within my firm, you are thinking, why can't a startup come out with a solution like that? It could be edge as a service or something like that, where the model is trained on the large language model, and you take your data and provide a solution there. Perhaps a lot of firms like us would be interested in a solution like that. Because in a law firm, as you said, security of data, compliance, and some of these things are very important because we are custodian of the data of our client. And that is where everything comes down to security. Now with edge, what happens is we understand that in edge, it's about the devices moving away from local to somewhere, as you said, rusty but crusty kind of a way, which means the physical security of the devices itself is something which have to be thought about. By physical security, it can mean from a pure somebody stealing away that server to getting unauthorized access to those devices. Or you know what, a lot of communication, as you said, is 5G and all, interception of that is possible there. So whenever we're talking about that, some of these aspects come to mind definitely from that angle. Apart from that, definitely authorization and control of those devices. How do we ensure that only authorized persons are having access, despite we not having a very real physical control the way we would like with a cloud kind of a device. So those are some aspects which definitely comes to mind. I was talking to a person in AWS, and the AWS is coming out with an edge kind of a solution offering. And one of the offering was edge devices in remote northeastern area, and where these devices are there, and then they are talking to the central server, and AWS servers can be accessed from there. Sounds like a simple solution, but the biggest hitch was the physical security of those devices. Biggest of the risk were lying. So these are certain things I can think of from a security and a security perspective, and definitely with the new Data Protection Act coming, the Digital Data Protection Act, the ownership of data is with the firm, and there is a lot of penalty involved in case the data gets stolen. So some of those aspects also from the way the infrastructure is changing, the way the legal landscape is changing, some of those things also have to be taken when we do a risk and benefit analysis of these devices.
Since most of the use cases which we have been hearing about seems to be around edge AI kind of solutions, anyone else wants to add to the point of security? How are you ensuring security or access control restrictions to your devices which are on the edge today?
I think that's a very tricky question. Actually, you brought a very valid point, because once you have, if you have single neck to catch, so it could be the data center setup or the cloud thing, wherein you got dumb sensors and you got connectivity and everything gets processed on the cloud. So you have a smaller battle to fight. But when you have these intelligent devices which are, all over the place, you've got thousands of them. How do you patch them? How do you make sure that they are secure enough from access? And from a cybersecurity standpoint also, data leakage prevention standpoint, there are vulnerabilities which exist, but today the state is, no, you need to have a trade-off between performance, outcomes, vis-a-vis taking a posture that, no, I'll be secure but not be doing anything. It's like you can be far secure if you're shut in the home, not moving out, but then you don't earn anything, so no risk, no gain. But I think we would be reaching to a stage wherein there would be standards which would be in place. There are standards, like I spoke about OPC, like you've got MQTT as a protocol which has evolved over the years. So, and they would progressively become far more secure than what they currently are. So it's security, of course, is a big problem, but it cannot be an umbrella under which we will shy off
And I think
driving
some of
innovations.
those, yeah, and I think some of the zero trust architectures also help as long as you're able to address the physical security.
The only thing is when you are talking about so many of these disparate edge devices, then having that view that having that inventory itself of what needs to be patched, how often, and who is having access at what point of time, bringing that intelligence on a dashboard, that itself will take a while to mature, I would say.
I think the single pane manageability dream which all of us live with kind of thing. Carl, coming to you. Since one of the major use case again seems to be AI and edge with AI kind of solutions, how are product companies like Atlassian deploying the tools for AI?
So what I would like to say about, of course, we don't look at edge products. It's more about products that we build products that you or as customers would end up using. So a lot of times people look to us to see how do we go forward. We are one of the pioneers when it comes to AI and how Microsoft, for example, OpenAI, everybody has a different way of looking at things. So Atlassian, when they decided to come out with AI products, they said, let's not do it only for ourselves. Let's see how other companies can also build their own AI tools. So Atlassian built our AI on certain principles, similar to what Microsoft and OpenAI does for itself. We've got the Atlassian technology principles based on which we built and are continuing to build our AI products. And we said, this is not enough just for us to consume. Let's get it out there for everyone else to consume as well. So when other companies are going out and building AI products for themselves internally, it's a good roadmap to get from where they are to building their own AI products, or when you're using other companies or absorbing other companies' functionality when it comes to AI. So we've got something called the technology principle template, which we've now publicly launched on our website for any customer to use if he's looking at building AI tools or consuming AI from different companies. This is about a 27, 28 pager template that is out publicly, which helps anyone who wants to understand AI and see whether it's a fit for his organization and how to consume it. You answer these questions, it gives you a fair view of where you are right now and where you can be when you use AI tools.
As Werner Vogel's Amazon CTO articulated the 3 laws of edge computing, the laws of physics, the laws of economics, and the laws of the land. The laws of speed or physics is a law of speed or latency, that you need faster turnaround, you need 1 millisecond kind of turnaround reactions, and hence edge computing solutions come into picture. Laws of economics, you don't want all data to go on to the cloud, your bandwidth optimization becomes essential, and the law of the land, the data residency requirements, where they stem from. I heard a 4th one which said that if synchronicity of the communication across the devices. If two robots are acting or doing tasks, how do you ensure that they are synchronized and acting uniformly and not at differentiated time periods? So I believe we have heard all those use cases articulated, and to me, imitation is the best form of flattery. Live examples of how CIOs and CDOs are deploying these make the best way to bring in new technology adoption into different organizations. So as a concluding question, what are the challenges that you would like to outline for CIOs or CISOs who are considering adoption right now? What do they need to factor in for scalability? Especially in the context of AI and IoT, how do you see this hybrid architectures pan out? So, Parna, would you like to step in?
Yeah. I think, there will be challenges always, but like cloud, if you look at cloud, we were discussing 10 years back, and then suddenly during COVID, the way cloud picked up, and today I think every company is there in cloud. Even our company, if you see, we're 100% on cloud, except the plant data center, so which we have not still now, went into cloud. So similarly for edge computing, there will be challenges coming up, whether it is security or privacy or even use cases or, the KPIs, achieving the KPIs or stuff like that. But I think the crux of the story is, first you need to make a strategy, whether you want to go for a monolithic architecture or a hybrid architecture, edge plus cloud. This thing is to be very important. Second thing is, you need to have a roadmap, what you want to do first, because there has to be some certain prioritization. Organizations like us who have 70 plus plants across the globe, and then prioritization becomes extremely important. What you want to do first and what you want to achieve next. After doing that, you need to start smaller pilots, fail early, learn very quickly, and then take the countermeasures and deploy fast. So I think this strategy we are following across, followed by obviously measuring the KPIs, whatever we have decided in the beginning, whether we are able to achieve or not. Lastly, make a presentation to the management, get more funds. Obviously, if the KPIs are getting achieved, then you get more funds for deployments. Your team gets excited, and you also encourage your teams to fail. Many people, what happens is, do not take risks because of failures. Apprehension of failure. So I think that apprehension has to be wiped off from your mind, and we might fail or we might succeed, but doesn't matter. We need to try something in our hands, because it has enormous capability in, again I'm coming back to the initial point of democratization of data. So democratization of data is extremely important in terms of availability to, 30 years back when internet came in India or the whole world, it actually changed the way information was democratized. So today also, this edge computing will democratize data to the actual users on the ground. That is extremely important.
Concluding thoughts, Atul.
So, thoughts on, if you could tell me a topic on which I need to...
Challenges. What do you see as the immediate challenges? How do you see?
No, we've been using a combination of edge, on-prem and cloud so far. So I think the biggest challenge is basically articulating a business use case and selling it to the internal, your leadership team that, this makes sense. Because unless you have that business case and you are able to do it, and that will only result for the monies to be on the table, and unless you have those budgets allocated. And to have what is important is, you have to run experiments, okay? And when I say experiments, we often believe that, we'll have to call some vendor and carry out experiments. What I have learned and what I have practiced here is, you have to make your own team, okay? Maybe they will not be aware of a particular technology. Like, I give you an example talk about ChatGPT. Nobody knew about ChatGPT till November 22, okay? But now you would find kids doing their homework using ChatGPT. Why? So because they made their feet wet, they got into it, started using it. And they didn't get any formal training, but still they could start doing it. Likewise, these new age technologies, you have to set some small pilots within your department, try it out, demonstrate it to the users, because unless you can eat and demonstrate to your team, other cross-functional team members that this is how we do it, And of course, we then have to scale it up to a different, very different level, production level. That will exude a lot of confidence, and that will give a lot of confidence to them also to put their monies on your
Absolutely,
process.
absolutely aligned on that. Unless the IT team is ready to deploy something or is able to show some value to the users, you will not get the money on the table, definitely.
And I just also want to highlight, sometimes though we have to also factor that many times the partner ecosystem, that's also a big challenge, okay? The partner ecosystem may promise you the moon, that no, we will get you this, we will get you that. But oftentimes you would find that their team members or they themselves wouldn't have
Also
done
learning, yeah.
and even an iota of such an implementation in the past. And they might be experimenting along with you. So that's a big problem, because then you would have put your budgets there and you find yourself being a test patient, so to say.
Yeah, I think we are at risk of getting escorted out, but maybe Carl, another 1 or 2 points.
Since I represent the partner community, that hurts, that's below the belt. For large language models when you're looking at AI and looking at AI models internally.
Nitin, anything?
So I think we heard about the other challenges. One challenge in acceptance of edge is, which we should not undermine, is the people. Let's say in a manufacturing setup, when I spoke of, the biggest challenge was not technology, because our demand from the technology was minuscule. We didn't expect magics to be done. Partner ecosystem also, thankfully we could find some good partners to work. But the challenge was people. Let's say I'm used to telling the efficiency of machine to be in 90% or in that range. The actual efficiency may not be that. Because of the paperwork that was done, the machine efficiency could be perceived as that above 90%. When we use edge and all these things, the people would not accept the number to be anything less. It will create a huge ripples. So managing that part and doing that cultural change is also one piece I just thought I'll highlight.
So I highlight two challenges actually. So one of them is, the fast changing technology. So what's happening is that we have to make a decision, but the underlying tech is changing. So how do we not do investment, throw money where it should not be thrown? So that's one challenge which I'm seriously seeing in the AI, chat, OpenAI, some of these spaces. And the other, what Atul said, is about internal selling. Actually, it's the other side of that also, because nowadays users come and they don't come with a problem. They come with a solution that I want to use, say, OpenAI. And then you have to say, what's the problem, and then whether this is the right way or you just need a simple solution there. So that's the other, because more of these technologies are becoming common, coming on the newspaper. It's becoming difficult for the tech folks to, avoid those and keep your balance on one direction on how you want to move forward with.
Yeah. So as Parna said, prioritizing and setting those priorities along with the users, I believe, is the only way to go. Thank you so much for a very interesting, hopefully the audience also found it useful and relevant. Thank you so much for your participation.
Let's all come forward for a group photograph. Now I would request Ms. Annie Matthew to present the planters to all the panelists as a token of our appreciation. Once again, thanking Mr. Atul Govil, Mr. Rohit Shukla, Mr. Parna Ghosh, Mr. Nitin Dhingra, and Mr. Karl Patrao. Now I request Mr. Shantanu Ganguly, CEO Strateging, to please come up on stage. Ma'am, I request you to please stay back on stage for one more moment. I would request Mr. Ganguly to present the planter to Ms. Annie Matthew. Thank you for moderating this wonderful session, ma'am.